My mother canceled my flight ticket overseas for my dream profession. Your duty is here taking care of us, she insisted. My brother snickered, yeah, who else will fund my new car? I said nothing and quietly returned to my room. They believed they'd won until the eviction notice was taped right onto their door. What if the person who swore to protect you, the one who gave you life, actually stole your entire future? My own mother didn't just steal my inheritance, she tried to steal me. She wanted to keep me trapped, but she made one crucial mistake, she left me just enough rope to hang them with. And trust me, it gets worse before it gets incredibly, undeniably satisfying. The email confirming my dream job in London had just glowed on my screen, a shimmering promise of escape. After 6 brutal years of working myself to the bone, senior relocation consultant at Marshall & Reed International, was finally mine. I was Eleanor, and I was about to learn a lesson in celebrating too early. My hands, trembling with a mix of excitement and disbelief, tucked the printed flight confirmation safely into my laptop bag. This was it. My ticket to a new life, far from the suffocating demands of home. The house was unnervingly silent when I arrived. An immediate prickle of dread crawled on my skin. Diane's car was in the driveway, but the living room, usually buzzing with the drone of her reality TV shows, was dark. Then, like a shadow solidifying, I heard it. Eleanor. Her voice, flat and cold, sliced through the dim silence. The sudden flick of a lamp sent a jolt through me, illuminating Diane in her favorite armchair, her face set in that all-too-familiar mask of disapproval. We need to talk, she announced, and my heart sank like a stone. Can it wait? I asked, my voice thin, desperate to escape to my room and savor my victory in private. I cancelled your flight. The words hit me like a physical blow. My world tilted. The air left my lungs. What? No, this can't be happening. My breath hitched. What are you talking about? I used your booking reference, she continued, taking a slow sip from her wine glass. The dark red liquid caught the lamplight, almost sinister. Told them there was a family emergency. You can't leave right now. We need you here. Just then, Caleb's laugh, loud and carefree, echoed from the kitchen. He appeared in the doorway, car keys swinging carelessly from his finger. Perfect timing, sis. The BMW payment is due next week. You're still covering that, right? The room started to spin. 6 years. 6 endless years of supporting them. Just until Diane gets back on her feet. Caleb just needs help starting out. 6 years of watching my savings drain away while they lived like nothing had changed since Dad died. My entire body vibrated with a silent, searing rage. You had no right, I managed to whisper, the words barely escaping my throat. I had every right. Diane snapped, her voice sharp. I'm your mother, and this family comes first, always. Caleb plopped onto the couch, already engrossed in his phone. Besides, what's so great about London? You've got a perfectly good job here. A job that pays for your car, I retorted. And Diane's credit cards. And this entire house. Exactly. Diane stood up, swaying slightly, the wine-fueled bravado taking over. We're a family. We support each other. You can't just abandon us for some selfish dream. I looked at them both. Really looked. Diane in her expensive silk robe, fresh from her weekly spa day. Caleb in his designer clothes, paid for with my overtime hours. They weren't even trying to hide their manipulation anymore. The pretense was gone, replaced by naked entitlement. I'm going to bed, I said quietly, turning away before they could see the fury burning in my eyes. Eleanor. Diane's voice pierced the air. Don't you dare walk away when I'm talking to you. But I did. I closed my bedroom door, locked it, and pressed my forehead against the cool wood. My hands were shaking, not from anger anymore, but from a terrifying, dawning clarity. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos I'd taken earlier that week. Pictures of the lease agreement Diane had signed 3 months ago when we renewed. My name wasn't on it. She'd been so confident I'd never leave, she hadn't even bothered to add me as a tenant. Just her and Caleb, living in a house I paid for but had no legal obligation to maintain. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. "Don't be dramatic. You know you can't survive without us." A cold, hard clarity washed over me. They thought they owned me. Thought they could clip my wings and keep me caged in this toxic nest forever. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd gotten sloppy. Comfortable. They left me just enough rope to hang them with. I opened my laptop, pulling up the utility accounts, all in my name, all paid from my account. Then my banking app, showing thousands in transfers to Diane and Caleb over the years. Finally, the London job offer letter, promising a fresh start, a salary that could actually build a future. I opened a new document and started typing, "Notice of utility service termination." My hands weren't shaking anymore. In fact, I felt calmer than I had in years. They wanted to play family. Fine. I'd show them exactly what happens when you push someone too far. Some daughters inherit jewelry, I whispered to myself, starting the first of many emails that would change everything. I inherited a lesson in karma. My phone kept buzzing with texts from Diane and Caleb, but I ignored them. They'd signed their own fate and didn't even know it. By canceling my flight, they just freed me to focus on something far more important than London, justice. And unlike them, I'd make sure to do it by the book. They did what? Sophia's coffee cup clattered against the saucer. We were sitting in a quiet corner of a cafe, far from any familiar faces. Cancelled my flight. Just like that. I pushed my untouched muffin around the plate. Diane used my booking reference, claimed there was a family emergency. That's actually illegal, isn't it? Probably. I pulled out my phone, showing her the lease agreement photos. But look what else I found. Sophia's eyes widened as she scrolled. Your name's not even on here. After everything you've paid. 6 years of rent, utilities, groceries. I took a sip of my now cold coffee. Remember when I had to drop out of college that first time when Diane said she was sick? I laughed bitterly. She had exhaustion code 4. She'd maxed out her credit cards and needed my tuition money to avoid bankruptcy. Meanwhile, she never missed a Botox appointment. Sophia reached across the table, squeezing my hand. What are you going to do? I already started. I pulled up my email. See this. Legal consultation request with Ethan from work. He specializes in property law. The cute one with the glasses. Focus, soft. But I couldn't help a small smile. I'm removing myself from all utilities. Once they're shut off, Diane and Caleb will have to put them in their names. Good luck with their credit scores. And the rent? That's the best part. Since I'm not on the lease, I have zero legal obligation to pay it. They signed a contract they can't afford. Sophia leaned back, studying me. This isn't just about the flight, is it? The memory hit me like a wave, standing in the grocery store at 19, calculating if I could afford both food and Diane's prescription copay while she texted me photos from her spa day. They've been bleeding me dry for years. Every time I try to build something for myself, they tear it down. My phone buzzed. A text from Caleb. Where's the car payment? It's due tomorrow. Delete, I muttered, swiping it away. He bought that BMW knowing I'd have to cover it. Didn't even ask first. Miss Walsh. A familiar voice made me look up. Ethan stood there, leather briefcase in hand. I got your email. Do you have a moment? I gestured to the empty chair. Perfect timing. What's the verdict? He pulled out some papers. It's actually quite straightforward. Since you're not on the lease, you can terminate utility services with 30 days' notice. As for the eviction, he adjusted his glasses. The landlord is within their rights to begin proceedings as soon as rent is late. And if they claim you verbally agreed to pay without written documentation, they don't have a case. He paused, studying my face. Are you sure you want to go nuclear? Family situations can get messy. I thought about Diane's wine-soaked accusations, Caleb's entitled demands, all those years of manipulation disguised as love. This is mercy, actually. They need to learn to stand on their own feet. I'll draft the notices today, Ethan said, standing. He hesitated. For what it's worth, I think you're doing the right thing. After he left, Sophia raised an eyebrow. Okay, he is cute. Not the point, but I felt lighter somehow. I need to get back to work. Want to help me apartment hunt this weekend? Already found you one. She slid her phone across the table, showing a listing. My cousin's condo. She's in Dubai for a year. Says you can move in whenever. I stared at the photos. Bright, modern, empty of family drama. Soft. Hey, what are best friends for? She grabbed her purse. Besides, I want front row seats when your cash cow realizes her cash cow is leaving the barn. Back at my desk, I started drafting emails to every utility company. Each click felt like breaking another chain. A message popped up from Diane. We need to discuss your attitude. Family dinner tonight. Be there. I typed out my response. Working late. Don't wait up. Then I opened my browser and started searching for a name I remembered from childhood, Audrey, Diane's estranged sister, the one we were never allowed to talk about. If anyone knew where all our family money had really gone, it would be her. My phone lit up with another demand from Caleb about his car payment. I turned it face down, focusing on my search. They wanted to play games with my future. Fine. But they were about to learn that some games end with everyone losing except me. I planned to win this one. The first utility shut-off notice arrived on a Tuesday. I heard Diane shriek from my bedroom, followed by thundering footsteps up the stairs. What is this? She burst through my door, waving the paper. The power company says service will be terminated in 2 weeks. I didn't look up from my laptop. You'll need to put it in your name. Don't be ridiculous. Fix this. No. The silence that followed was deafening. Diane stepped closer, her perfume suffocating in the small room. What did you say? I said, no. I finally met her eyes. I'm removing myself from all the utilities. You and Caleb are on the lease. You can handle the bills. Her face paled. We can't afford that. Sounds like a you problem. I turned back to my work. Maybe skip a few spa days. She grabbed my arm. You ungrateful little, take your hand off me, I said quietly, my voice deadly calm. Or I'll call the police and report you for assault. She recoiled like I'd slapped her. I'm your mother. And I'm not your ATM. The house phone started ringing. Probably the water company with their shut-off notice. Diane stormed out, slamming my door hard enough to rattle the pictures on my wall. An hour later, Caleb's BMW pulled into the driveway. I watched through my window as 2 men in uniforms approached him. Repo men, I whispered. No, no, no. Caleb's voice carried clearly. There must be some mistake. My sister handles the payments. I opened my window slightly to hear better. Sir, the payment is 3 weeks overdue. We have a repossession order. Just let me call her. Caleb pulled out his phone, but I'd already blocked his number. That's my car. Actually, one of the men said, it's the bank's car, and they want it back. I filmed the whole thing on my phone. Caleb's tantrum. Him kicking the BMW's tire. The repo men calmly doing their jobs. Good evidence. Just in case he tried anything stupid later. Eleanor. Diane's voice echoed through the house. Get down here now. I stayed put, listening to their conversation drift up through the heating vent. She's lost her mind. Caleb was saying. First the utilities, now my car. I know, sweetie. She's just going through a phase. A phase? My car just got repossessed. I need that for work. You haven't had a job in 2 years, I muttered to myself. Diane's voice dropped lower. I need to call Audrey. Audrey? Why? Because, Diane's voice shook, she might be our only option now. I sat up straighter. Diane never mentioned her sister, ever. The last time I'd asked about Aunt Audrey, I'd been grounded for a week. My phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Your stuff's all moved to my cousin's place. Keys are at my office. Whenever you're ready. Freedom was so close, I could almost taste it. But first, I needed to know what Diane was hiding. I crept downstairs, staying just out of sight of the kitchen where Diane was on the phone. Audrey, please. I know we haven't spoken, but, yes, it's about the money. No, she doesn't know yet. Audrey, you can't tell her about the trust fund. It would ruin everything. Trust fund? What trust fund? Audrey, please. I needed that money. Caleb was just a baby. And after John died. Yes, I know it was meant for Eleanor's education, but... My hand flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. The pieces started falling into place. Dad's death when I was 14. The mysterious college fund that had run dry. Diane's sudden spending spree. Audrey, if you tell her, I'll deny everything. There's no proof. Hello? Audrey? I backed away silently, my mind racing. There had been money. My money. And Diane had stolen it. Back in my room, I pulled up my search for Audrey again. This time I had a better idea what I was looking for. A knock at my door made me jump. Eleanor. Caleb's voice was thick with tears. Please. I need my car. I'll lose my job. His mask cracked. What job? You're nothing without this family. You hear me? Nothing. I waited until his footsteps faded, then opened my email. Subject line, Dear Aunt Audrey. Sometimes the best revenge isn't served cold. Sometimes it's served with proof. The eviction notice appeared on our front door like a declaration of war. I heard Caleb rip it down, followed by Diane's scream that rattled the windows. Eleanor. I stepped out of my room, laptop tucked under my arm. Yes. Diane thrust the crumpled notice in my face. What is this? Looks like an eviction notice. I kept my voice level. Don't you dare play games with me. Her voice shook with rage. Fix this now. I can't. I'm not on the lease, remember. You and Caleb signed it. You're responsible for the rent, which you've always paid out of the goodness of my heart. Not legal obligation. Caleb charged up the stairs, face red. You evil little, careful, I warned. Assault charges won't look good on your non-existent resume. We're family. Diane's mascara was running. You can't do this to family. Family? I laughed. A bitter, hollow sound. Was it family when you stole my trust fund? The color drained from her face. What? Caleb looked confused. What trust fund? The one Diane emptied when I was 14. I turned to her. Want to tell him, or should I? You don't understand, she whispered. We needed that money for what? Your spa days. His BMW. I opened my laptop, showing them my bank statements. Look at these transfers. Thousands every month for years, while I worked overtime, canceled vacations, gave up my own dreams. You're nothing without us. Caleb shouted. Who do you think you are? I'm someone who's done being your personal bank. I started down the stairs. You have 30 days to vacate. I suggest you start packing. Diane grabbed my arm. If you do this, you'll regret it. I'll tell everyone what an ungrateful daughter you are. Go ahead. I pulled free. Tell them how you stole my inheritance. Tell them how you forced me to drop out of college. Tell them everything. I'm your mother. No. I reached the front door. You're my cautionary tale. At work, I found Daniel waiting at my desk with coffee. Heard you could use this. That obvious? You look like you're fighting a war. He perched on my desk edge. Want to talk about it? I told him everything. The cancelled flight, the utilities, the eviction, the trust fund. His expression darkened with each detail. That's not family, he said finally. That's financial abuse. I know that now. I sipped the coffee. He'd remembered exactly how I liked it. I just wish I'd seen it sooner. Better late than never. He hesitated. Listen, there's a position opening in our London office. Senior level, better pay than your original offer. I could put in a word. You do that? His smile was warm. You deserve better than what they've given you. My phone buzzed. Texts from Diane and Caleb, threats and guilt trips lighting up my screen. I blocked both numbers. Thank you, I told Daniel. For everything. Back at the house, I found my bedroom door kicked in, my possessions scattered across the floor. Caleb stood in the middle of the chaos, chest heaving. Still think you're better than us? He snarled. I pulled out my phone and dialed. Yes, police. I'd like to report a break-in and vandalism. My brother broke into my room and destroyed my property. I have video evidence of him threatening me earlier today. You wouldn't dare. Eleanor. Wait. He fled downstairs as sirens approached. Diane appeared in the doorway, looking smaller somehow. Please, she whispered. We can fix this. No. I started gathering my important documents. We can't. The police arrived, took statements, warned Caleb about trespassing. I watched from my window as he paced the driveway, ranting into his phone about his ungrateful sister. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. This is Audrey. Got your email. Let's meet tomorrow. There's more you need to know. I looked around my destroyed room, at the life they tried to trap me in. Tomorrow couldn't come soon enough, because sometimes the truth isn't just about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free. I recognized Aunt Audrey the moment she walked into the cafe. She had Diane's high cheekbones, but none of her artificial polish, just simple clothes and kind eyes that crinkled when she saw me. You look just like your father, she said, sliding into the booth. Diane hates that people say that. Your mother hates a lot of things that remind her she's not in control. Audrey pulled out a thick manila envelope. Because you know about the trust fund. I know about everything, Eleanor. She opened the envelope. I was the executor of your father's will. My coffee went cold as she laid out document after document. Bank statements, legal papers, letters. Your father left you everything, Audrey explained. The house, his savings, his shares in his company. It was meant to be held in trust until you turned 25. My hands shook as I picked up a bank statement. This says $500,000, plus the house and company shares. Audrey's voice hardened. Diane forged my signature and emptied everything when you were 14. How? She knew the right people. Paid them well, with your money. She pushed forward a letter. This was from your father to you. She kept it hidden. The paper felt fragile in my hands. Dad's handwriting was exactly as I remembered. My dearest Eleanor, I read aloud, throat tight. If you're reading this, I didn't make it, but I made sure you'll be taken care of. The house is yours. The business is yours. Your future is secure. Don't let anyone take that from you. Love, Dad. She took everything, Audrey said softly. The house was sold and rebought in her name. The business shares cashed out. The trust fund drained. For what? My voice cracked. Designer clothes, vacations, status. Your mother's always been obsessed with appearances. Audrey pulled out more papers. But here's what she doesn't know. I kept copies of everything. The original will, the forged documents, the transfer records, even recordings of her threatening the bank manager. I stared at the evidence of my stolen life. Why didn't you come forward sooner? She threatened to hurt you if I did. Audrey's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, Eleanor. I should have found another way. It's not your fault. I touched the letter again. But we can make it right. The statute of limitations on fraud hasn't expired. She smiled grimly. And I've got an excellent lawyer. My phone buzzed. Diane calling from a new number. I declined it. She's desperate. The utilities are being cut off. Evictions in process. Karma's finally catching up. Audrey hesitated. There is something else you should know. About your real last name. What do you mean? The name on your birth certificate isn't Walsh. It's Reeves. Your father's name. Diane changed it after he died. Said it would be easier if you matched her name. Another piece of identity stolen. Another lie exposed. She's been calling me, Audrey continued, begging for money, threatening to expose old family secrets. She doesn't realize she's the secret that needs exposing. My phone lit up with a text from Caleb. Diane's crying because of you. Hope you're happy, you selfish. I showed Audrey the message. They still think they're the victims. Abusers usually do. She gathered the documents. These are copies for you. The originals are safe with my lawyer. Whatever you decide to do next, you have proof. What would you do? I'd burn their whole world down. She squeezed my hand. But legally. Always legally. Back at Sophia's cousin's condo, I spread the documents across my new kitchen counter. The truth laid bare in black and white. Every theft, every lie, every manipulation. My phone buzzed again. Diane standing on my old front porch, mascara streaked. You don't understand, Eleanor. We needed you. We still do. I watched her through the security camera I'd installed. She looked small, desperate, human. But so had I at 14 when she stole my future. At 19 when she forced me to drop out of college. At 28 when she canceled my flight to freedom. I picked up my father's letter, reading it one more time. Then I opened my laptop and typed, Dear Mr. Harrison, I'd like to press charges for financial fraud. Sometimes the truth isn't just about justice. Sometimes it's about reclaiming what was always meant to be yours. I will never bleed myself dry so you can keep pretending we're a family. The words left my mouth like ice as Diane swayed on the front porch, wine glass in hand. You don't mean that, she slurred. We're blood. Blood that you stole from. How much was in that trust fund again? $500,000. She flinched. Audrey told you. She showed me everything. The forged documents, Dad's letter, my real birth certificate. I did what I had to do. She stepped forward, wine sloshing. You were just a child. You didn't know what money meant. But you did, right? That's why you spent it all on yourself. A car door slammed. Caleb emerged from an Uber looking disheveled. Diane, why are you outside? Your sister, she spat. Destroying this family. No. I held up my phone, showing them both the legal documents Audrey had sent. You did that when you stole my inheritance. Caleb's face twisted. You're lying. Am I? Ask Diane where your BMW payments really came from all these years. Ask her where she got the money for her weekly spa treatments. Shut up. Diane threw her wine glass. It shattered against the wall beside me. I pressed record on my phone. That's assault, Diane. Want to try for more charges besides fraud? Charges? Caleb's voice cracked. What charges? The ones Audrey's lawyer filed this morning. Fraud, identity theft, embezzlement from a minor's trust. I stepped back as Diane lunged forward. You wouldn't dare. Watch me. I turned to leave. You have 25 days left before eviction. I suggest you start looking for jobs instead of throwing wine glasses. Jobs. Caleb laughed hysterically. We don't do jobs. We're better than that. Not anymore. Back at my new condo, I found Daniel waiting with takeout. Thought you might need dinner after the showdown. That obvious? Sophia texted me. She's worried about you. We sat at my kitchen counter, sharing noodles while I showed him the trust fund documents. This is serious fraud, he said, examining the papers. They could face jail time. Diane definitely will. Caleb might escape it since he was a kid when it happened. I pushed my food around. Is it wrong that I don't feel bad after what they did? Daniel touched my hand. You're allowed to want justice. My phone buzzed with notifications. Caleb had gone on a social media rampage, posting about his psycho sister destroying the family. Look at these comments, I said, showing Daniel. Our mutual friends are all unfollowing him. They're asking what he means about fraud charges. Truth has a way of exposing itself. A voice message from Diane popped up. You owe us. You'll regret this. Family protects family. I forwarded it straight to Audrey's lawyer. The London position, Daniel said suddenly. It's yours if you want it. Better salary than before. And. He hesitated, I might be transferring there too. My heart skipped. Might be, if you say yes. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with an alert from my security cameras. Caleb was at my old house, loading boxes into another Uber. They're actually packing, I whispered. Reality's finally hitting home. I watched through the camera as Diane appeared, clutching photo albums. Look, I said. The family station wagon's gone. They must have sold it. Are you okay? I searched for the word. Free. A notification popped up. Someone had left something on my old front porch. I switched cameras. Is that my childhood memory box? The one Diane had always kept safe in her closet. She's leaving it behind. Want to go get it? I thought about the photos, the letters, the pieces of my past locked inside that box. No. Let her keep it. I'm done living in memories. Daniel smiled. London's looking better every minute, isn't it? You know what? I closed the security app, turning away from my old life. It really is. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Diane. You'll regret choosing money over family. I typed back, you did that first. The difference is, I'm choosing myself. Then I blocked her final number and looked at Daniel. Tell me more about London, because sometimes the best revenge isn't looking back at all. Eviction day dawned cold and clear. I sat in Sophia's car across the street, watching the locksmith change the locks while Diane screamed at the landlord. You can't do this. We've lived here for years. And haven't paid rent in 2 months, the landlord replied calmly. The eviction notice was legal. Your time is up. Daniel's hand found mine in the back seat. You don't have to watch this. Yes, I do. The moving company I'd hired and paid for, one last act of mercy, began carrying out furniture. Caleb paced the driveway, filming everything on his phone while ranting about family betrayal. He's live streaming it, Sophia said, checking her phone. The comments are not on his side. A familiar car pulled up. And Audrey, carrying a thick folder, joined us in our observation post. The police called, she said. Your mother's being charged with fraud next week. They have all the evidence they need. Look. Daniel pointed at the house. Diane was trying to stop the movers from taking her designer couch. Should we intervene? No. I squeezed his hand. Let her learn what it feels like to lose things. Caleb's voice suddenly rose above the chaos. This is all your fault. He was pointing at me through the car window. You did this to us. No, I said, stepping out of the car despite Daniel's protest. You did this to yourselves. We're your family. Family doesn't steal trust funds. Family doesn't force you to drop out of college. Family doesn't clip your wings to keep you in their cage. I hate you. He charged forward, but Sophia and Daniel moved to flank me. Careful. Audrey called out. Assault charges won't help your situation. Caleb punched the nearest wall instead, howling when his knuckles cracked. The landlord signaled to the police officer on standby, who quickly moved to escort Caleb away. Eleanor, please. Diane stumbled down the front steps. Where are we supposed to go? That sounds like a you problem. I threw her words back at her. Maybe skip a few spa, I'm your mother. No. I held up the documents Audrey had given me. You're a thief who happened to give birth to your victim, and now you're facing consequences. She crumpled to the ground, mascara running. The perfect picture of maternal devastation. But I'd seen this performance too many times before. Get up, Diane, Audrey said tiredly. The theatrics won't work anymore. Diane's eyes hardened. You did this. You turned her against me. The truth did that. Audrey handed me another document. Speaking of which. I scanned the paper, my eyes widening. You bought shares in the property through my company. Audrey smiled. To ensure they can never rent here again. Consider it partial repayment for what she stole from you. Caleb was still ranting to his phone camera, but his audience had dwindled to 0. The movers efficiently packed the last boxes into their truck. Time's up, the landlord announced. Property needs to be cleared now. Wait. Diane ran inside, emerging with my childhood memory box. Take it. These are your precious memories, right? She hurled the box at my feet. Photos, letters, and mementos scattered across the lawn. I didn't move to pick them up. Keep them. I'm making new memories now. In London. She laughed bitterly. Running away won't change who you are. You're still my daughter. Actually, I pulled out my father's birth certificate, my real one. I'm James Reeves's daughter, and I'm finally claiming everything that means. The police officer stepped forward. Diane, you need to leave the property now. I watched them go. Diane, sobbing dramatically. Caleb filming one last angry tirade. The locksmith finished changing the locks. The movers drove away. Just like that, it was over. Sophia hugged me tight. You did it. We did it, I corrected, looking at my support system. Sophia, Daniel, Audrey. People who lifted me up instead of dragging me down. Ready to go? Daniel asked softly. Our flight to London's tomorrow. I took one last look at the house where I'd been trapped for so long. Through the window, I could see the empty spaces where furniture had stood, the blank walls where photos had hung. You know what? I turned away, linking my arm through his. I've been ready for years. Because sometimes the happiest ending isn't about what you keep, it's about what you leave behind. My new passport felt different in my hands. Eleanor Reeves, it read. My father's name restored. My identity reclaimed. The London-bound flight would board in an hour. Last chance to back out, Sophia teased, sliding into the airport cafe seat across from me. Not a chance. I showed her the latest email from Audrey's lawyer. Diane took the plea deal. 2 years for fraud, plus restitution payments. And Caleb? Community service. He's living with our second cousin, working at their hardware store. I smiled. Actually working, for once in his life. Daniel appeared with coffee for all of us. Gates opening soon. You ready? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with a text from Audrey. Meet me at security. There's one last thing you need to see. We found her waiting by the TSA line, holding a weathered leather briefcase. This was your father's, she said, handling it like something precious. Diane hid it in her storage unit. The police found it during their investigation. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside lay business documents, old photos, and a sealed envelope with my name on it. He wrote this the day before the accident, Audrey explained. It was supposed to go with the will. The letter was dated exactly 14 years ago. My dearest Eleanor, I read, my voice catching. If you're reading this, something's happened to me. I need you to know the truth. Your mother isn't who she pretends to be. She married me for my company. Tried to force me to sign it over to her. I refused. I'm changing my will tomorrow. Putting everything in a trust for you. Only you, because you have something she never will, integrity. A soul that can't be bought. The company shares are yours. The London office is yours. Everything I built. I built for you. Don't let her clip your wings, sweetheart. You were born to fly. Love always, Dad. Attached was a photo I'd never seen. Dad holding baby me, standing in front of an office building in London. Marshall and Reed International. Wait, I looked at Daniel. Marshall and Reed. That's your father's company. He grinned. Where you're about to be senior consultant, in your own family's firm. Audrey told me last week, Sophia admitted. We wanted it to be a surprise. The board knows everything, Audrey added. They're ready to acknowledge you as James's heir. The shares your mother stole. They're being restored to you. The final boarding call echoed through the terminal. Time to go, Daniel said softly. I hugged Audrey tight. Thank you for everything. Just promise me something. She wiped away tears. Make him proud. She already is, Sophia said, pointing at her phone. She pulled up a news article. Local woman faces fraud charges after stealing daughter's inheritance. The photo showed Diane being led into court. No designer clothes or perfect makeup to hide behind. Just consequences, finally catching up. Last call for Flight 237 to London Heathrow, the announcer called. I shouldered my carry-on, tucking Dad's letter safely inside. Ready? Wait. Daniel pulled me close. I need to ask something first. Right here, right now. He took my hand. Have dinner with me in London. Not as colleagues or friends, but as a date. The first of many, I hope. Sophia squealed. Audrey beamed. Yes, I said, standing on tiptoe to kiss his cheek. Absolutely yes. We went through security together, leaving behind the ghosts of my past. No more manipulation, no more theft, no more chains disguised as family ties. At the gate, I turned to take one final look at American soil. My phone lit up with a message from Caleb. Surprisingly, Diane's crying in her cell. Says she's sorry. Says she loves you. Want me to pass on a message? I typed back, tell her I love me, too. Then I turned off my phone, took Daniel's hand, and walked toward my future. Because sometimes the happiest endings aren't about forgiveness or reconciliation. Sometimes they're about taking back what was always yours. Your name, your legacy, your right to fly. Ready for takeoff? Daniel asked as we settled into our seats. I looked out the window at the rising sun, thinking of Dad's words. You were born to fly. You know what? I squeezed his hand. I've never been more ready. The words tasted like victory on my tongue. Stepping onto that plane felt like a rebirth. Daniel, bless his patient soul, squeezed my hand, a silent acknowledgement of the monumental shift unfolding within me. Sophia, ever the loyal friend, was practically bouncing in her seat, already planning our London adventures. It wasn't just a flight across the Atlantic. It was a journey into a future I was actively, finally building for myself. London hit me with a vibrant, exhilarating rush. The cool, crisp air, the bustling energy, the historical architecture blending seamlessly with modern glass. It felt right, like a missing piece of my soul had finally found its home. Sophia, with her cousin's empty flat in Canary Wharf, made the transition seamless. It was bright, modern, and blessedly free of any lingering shadows. We spent the first few days exploring, giggling through crowded markets, marveling at the Tower of London, and getting deliciously lost in the labyrinth of streets. Each new experience was a small act of defiance against the life I'd left behind, a tangible marker of my newfound freedom. Then it was time to step into my destiny, Marshall and Reed International, my father's company. The revelation still sent shivers down my spine, a mix of awe and a fierce determination to honor his legacy. Walking into that sleek, glass-fronted building, I wasn't just Eleanor Walsh, the traumatized daughter. I was Eleanor Reeves, a name whispered through the corridors with respect, and, I suspected, a fair bit of curiosity. The board meeting was intense. 6 stern-faced executives, all older, mostly men, eyeing me like I was a foreign object dropped into their carefully orchestrated world. Audrey, my steadfast aunt, was there, a pillar of quiet strength beside me, along with her lawyer. She'd explained everything to them beforehand, presented the mountain of evidence, and the board, it turned out, had their own reasons to want things set right. My father, James Reeves, had been a visionary. His sudden death, followed by Diane's swift and brutal takeover attempt, had left scars. They'd weathered it, but his true heir, his daughter, was a story they were more than eager to embrace. Miss Reeves, the chairman, a distinguished man named Mr. Finch, began, "We are profoundly sorry for the circumstances that have led to this moment. Your father was a giant in this industry. His passing was a great loss, and the subsequent unfortunate events were deeply regrettable. His gaze softened. He would be incredibly proud of you, not just for your resilience, but for the acumen you've shown in reclaiming what is rightfully yours. They formally acknowledged me as the principal heir, the majority shareholder. It was surreal. The London office, which was to be my initial posting, wasn't just a job. It was my inheritance, a tangible piece of my father's dream, now mine to nurture. Daniel, who had been transferred a week prior, was already making waves in his department. Seeing him there, a familiar, comforting presence in this grand new world, made it all feel a little less overwhelming. Our relationship, which had been a slow burn of professional respect and budding attraction, began to truly blossom amidst the vibrant backdrop of London and the shared excitement of our new careers. My first few weeks at Marshall & Reed were a whirlwind. I wasn't just a senior relocation consultant anymore. My role quickly evolved. The board, eager to install a legitimate heir, fast-tracked my integration into upper management. I devoured company reports, immersed myself in my father's old strategic plans, even found some of his personal journals tucked away in a dusty cabinet in his former office. He had written about his vision for Marshall & Reed, not just as a relocation service, but as a global network connecting people to new opportunities, fostering growth, and building dreams. He'd even sketched out ideas for ethical, sustainable practices long before they became buzzwords. My father wasn't just a businessman. He was an idealist, and I was his daughter. Working alongside Daniel was a joy. He was brilliant, grounded, and possessed a quiet strength that mirrored my own. We'd spend late nights poring over spreadsheets, then unwind with long walks along the Thames, talking about everything and nothing. Our dates, which started as casual dinners, soon became deeply personal explorations of shared dreams and vulnerabilities. He understood the complexities of my past without judgment, celebrating my victories and offering a steady hand during moments of doubt. He became my anchor in this exhilarating new life. Meanwhile, the legal battle back home was progressing. Audrey and her lawyer kept me updated. Diane had indeed taken a plea deal, 2 years for financial fraud, embezzlement, and identity theft, plus significant restitution payments. The judge had been particularly harsh on the identity theft charge, given my father's will and the deliberate changing of my name. It was a fair sentence, Audrey assured me, considering the evidence. Caleb, as predicted, received community service. He was working at a hardware store owned by our second cousin, a distant relative who, it turned out, was firmly on Audrey's side and had little patience for Caleb's antics. He regularly posted angry, rambling videos on social media, accusing me of ruining his life, but his audience dwindled with each new revelation of Diane's crimes. The comments, Sophia often reported, were overwhelmingly in my favor, calling him out for his entitlement. It was a strange kind of vindication, to see the world finally recognize the truth. I didn't feel a surge of triumph at Diane's sentencing, just a quiet, almost melancholic sense of finality. Justice had been served, not as revenge, but as a natural consequence. There was no joy in seeing her fall, only a profound relief that her power over me had completely evaporated. I wasn't defined by her actions anymore. I was defined by my own choices. A few months into my London life, Audrey called with a request. "Eleanor," she began gently. "Diane's parole board is reviewing her case. She's requested to see you. She says she wants to apologize, to make things right regarding the restitution." My stomach clenched. See her? After everything? I hadn't spoken to her directly since that day on the porch. The thought made my skin crawl. Why, Audrey? What's the point? For you, Eleanor. Foreclosure. You're strong enough now to face her, not as her victim, but as the woman you've become. It's not about what she wants. It's about what you need to fully move on. Daniel supported me, but didn't push. Whatever you decide, I'm with you. And if you go, I'll be waiting right outside. Sophia, ever protective, offered to fly back with me, but I knew I had to do this alone. It was my battle, my peace to find. The meeting took place in a sterile, impersonal room at the prison. Diane looked different, gaunt, her expensive clothes replaced by a faded uniform. The mask of polished disapproval she usually wore had crumbled, replaced by a weary, almost desperate expression. My heart didn't clench with anger or pity, just a quiet, unfeeling observation. She was a stranger. The woman who had once been my mother. "Eleanor," she whispered, her voice raspy. I'm so sorry. I truly am." Tears welled in her eyes. But I knew those tears. I'd seen them too many times. A weapon wielded for manipulation. "Are you sorry for what you did, Diane?" I asked, my voice calm, steady, unwavering. "Or are you sorry for the consequences?" She flinched. "Both. I was struggling after your father died. Caleb was so young. I panicked. You thought you were protecting us by stealing my inheritance. By forcing me to drop out of college. By changing my name. By bleeding me dry for years while you lived a life of luxury." My voice remained level, devoid of the raw emotion I once would have felt. I wasn't accusing. I was stating facts. She wrung her hands. "I know it looks bad, but I never meant to hurt you. You were so young. You didn't understand the value of money. I thought I knew best. You knew best how to secure your own comfort at my expense." I looked her directly in the eye. "My father left me everything. He ensured my future was secure. You destroyed that, Diane. You robbed me of my education, my financial independence, my very identity, all to maintain your lifestyle. There is no protecting us in that. That was pure, unadulterated selfishness." She started to cry harder. "But I'm your mother. We're family. Don't you remember all the good times? All I did for you?" "I remember the good times, Diane. But they're overshadowed by the betrayal. And family doesn't do what you did. Family supports, family nurtures, family empowers. You did the opposite." I paused, taking a deep breath. This was it, the final severing. "I'm here for one reason, to ensure the restitution payments are handled correctly. Beyond that, there is nothing left for us to discuss. You are no longer my responsibility, and I am no longer your victim." Her face crumpled, a genuine look of pain finally breaking through the practiced tears. You can't just abandon me. You abandoned me first, Diane. You abandoned your role as my mother when you stole my future. You made your choices. Now you live with them. I've already chosen myself." I stood up, feeling a lightness, a profound sense of peace settling over me. "Audrey and her lawyer will handle the rest." Without another word, I walked out, leaving her there, alone with her choices. The air outside the prison building felt crisp and clean, almost cleansing. Daniel was waiting, a warm smile on his face. He didn't ask what happened, just wrapped me in a comforting hug. "You okay?" "More than okay," I whispered into his shoulder. "I'm free." My path with Caleb was less dramatic, more like a slow, painful untangling. He reached out a few months later, not with an apology, but a plea for help. "Eleanor, I hate this hardware store. My credit is ruined. I can't even get a decent apartment. Can't you just vouch for me? Talk to someone." I met him for coffee. Neutral territory. He looked diminished. The entitled swagger replaced by a defeated slump. But beneath it, I still saw the familiar refusal to take responsibility. "Caleb," I said gently. "I won't be vouching for you. You need to earn your way back. You need to build your own life with your own efforts. But you have everything. You're loaded now. What's a little help to you? It's not about the money, Caleb. It's about personal responsibility. You need to learn what it means to work, to save, to stand on your own 2 feet. If you're genuinely serious about turning your life around, I can point you towards some resources, job training programs, financial literacy courses. But I won't enable you anymore. That's over. He scoffed. But there was a flicker of something in his eyes. Perhaps understanding, perhaps just weary resignation. So that's it. You're just cutting me off completely. I'm not cutting you off, Caleb. I'm cutting off the part of our dynamic that was destroying me. I hope you find your way, but I can't be part of that journey with you. Not in the way you want. It was a hard truth, spoken with a quiet conviction. No anger, no malice, just boundaries. Back in London, life was flourishing. Marshall and Reed International thrived under my leadership. I implemented many of my father's original progressive ideas, focusing on employee well-being and community engagement. We launched new initiatives for sustainable relocation, partnering with charities to help families displaced by global crises. It wasn't just about profit. It was about purpose. Every success felt like a tribute to my father, a quiet whisper that his vision lived on. My relationship with Daniel deepened with each passing day. He was my partner in every sense of the word, celebrating my achievements, comforting me through the occasional moments of self-doubt that still crept in. We explored London together, built a home together, and talked about a future that felt bright and boundless. We even bought a small, old house in a quaint neighborhood. A true home this time, chosen and paid for by me, filled with our shared memories and dreams. No shadows, no manipulation, just love and respect. Sophia remained my closest confidant, flying over for visits, often dragging Audrey along. We'd laugh, share stories, and marvel at how far I'd come. Audrey, my quiet savior, was a constant source of wisdom and love, a true matriarch who had finally found her voice. One crisp autumn morning, Daniel and I were walking through St. James's Park, the golden leaves crunching underfoot. He stopped, turned to me, his eyes full of a love that truly saw me, understood me. "Eleanor Reeves," he began, taking my hands in his. "You're the most incredible, resilient, brilliant woman I've ever known. You've built an empire, reclaimed your life, and found your true self. And I want to be a part of that self, forever." He knelt, pulling a small box from his pocket. "Will you marry me?" Tears, real tears this time, streamed down my face. Not tears of sorrow or anger, but of overwhelming joy and gratitude. "Yes," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. 1,000 times yes. Later that day, as we sat in our cozy living room, sipping tea and basking in the glow of our engagement, I held a framed photograph of my father. He was smiling, his eyes twinkling. "You were born to fly, sweetheart." I touched his face in the photo, a profound sense of peace filling my chest. I had flown. I had soared beyond the cage, beyond the lies, beyond the betrayal. I had built a life more rich and fulfilling than I could have ever imagined. My name was restored, my legacy reclaimed, my heart full. Sometimes the best endings aren't about getting even or even about winning. They're about finding your true north, forging a path that is authentically, unapologetically you. They're about realizing that the most precious inheritance isn't money or property, but the unwavering belief in your own worth, the courage to choose yourself, and the strength to build a future defined by love, purpose, and boundless freedom. And as I look out at this incredible life I've built, with Daniel by my side, a thriving company to lead, and the City of London as my home, I know one thing for sure. I've never been more ready for what comes next. Have you ever had a moment where you realized you had to completely redefine family for your own well-being? Or a time when you finally understood your true worth after a long struggle? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. I'm here, and I'm listening.